Hi everyone, and welcome to IQ Designer and My Design Center. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to create an applique from a built-in shape. And this information is important because it also applies to future projects. Some of these concepts are going to be transferable to future lessons. So go into IQ Designer or My Design Center. And once you're in this module, you're going to be utilizing your shapes. Click on Shapes and click on the second icon at the top. We're going to be creating an applique from this cute little teddy bear. So think of a children's project, maybe a pillow, maybe on a garment, and this is also a great way to get a child involved in the sewing and embroidery process. Select the teddy bear, press OK, and you have that teddy bear on your screen. Now you can resize this anywhere or any size you want. I'm going to leave it this default size. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I select a running stitch for the outline, because I want you to think of this. When you're working with an applique, you have a placement line, a tack down line, and then you have your satin stitch. Your placement and tack down lines are a running stitch, so that's what we want to work with first. So I'm going to click on my notepad under line properties. I'll select black and select the running stitch and press OK. Click on your fill tool and then touch that line, and let's make sure that that line has changed. So press next, preview, OK. All right, so here is our running stitch. And again, this is going to be our placement line and our tack down line. So press return, press cancel. And what you want to do now is to save this outline into the pocket. So press that yellow pocket with the red arrow and then save it either on a USB or in your machine. Press next, press preview, and then press set. Press OK when you get that warning, and now you are in the embroidery module. But before we stitch this out, we're not finished. We're only halfway there. Remember, we have to add the satin stitch for the satin stitch that goes around that teddy bear. So press Add, then go into IQ Designer or My Design Center. We want to retrieve that teddy bear, so press the yellow pocket with the blue arrow, press where you saved it. I'm going to choose the last save that I have, press set, and I have the teddy bear back up on my screen. So now I'm going to go into my notepad under my line properties, select the satin stitch, and I'm going to make it a different color. This is very, very important. So I'm going to make it a red, press OK, press your fill tool under the line properties, and then touch that line. So that line will turn red. Let's make sure that everything has taken effect. Press next, preview, OK, and now we see the satin stitch. The issue with our current satin stitch is that we know when we use applique fabric, we have to make sure the satin stitch is wide enough to catch that fabric, and sometimes that can be tricky. So press return. And then what I'm going to do is go into my satin stitch width. When people are playing around with this, I always tell them to choose the widest width first, and then you can go back and experiment on your own with the narrowest stitch that works for the shape that you're dealing with. So I'll press set, press preview, press OK, and there we have our beautiful satin stitch for our teddy bear. And just think how fun this is going to be to involve a child, have them pick out their colors, have them pick out the fabric for the applique, and then once they finish the applique, you can further embellish it in IQ Designer and My Design Center. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So press return, because if you notice right here, we do have gaps in our stitching. They're showing up as white lines. And remember, in a previous lesson, I told you how to compensate for this. You can go into your density and let's bump it up to 110, press set, and that should take care of most of those lines, if not all. So let's check out that density. Beautiful. Press set, press OK, and there we go. We have our finished applique design of our teddy bear. So when I go to embroidery, I'll click on Edit End, and I will click on embroidery. You'll notice right here that I have 2 different colors. Now on a multi-needle, you will need to put a stop code in between the black and the red, but the black is going to do the outline, and then the second color, red, is going to do the teddy bear. If you are working with a single needle machine, you know that the machine will stop automatically after the black, and then you'll have to put the red on to finish that design. All right, you guys, so that concludes this first part of the lesson. I'm going to stitch this out on a sample, and then I'm going to show you how to add cute little eyes, nose, a little curly mouth, and it's really going to be custom, and like I said, great project to involve a child or a grandchild. My fabric is hooped, and I am ready to start this cute little applique bear. I'm using Filmoplast stabilizer and just cotton fabric for the base, and I'm using another cotton fabric for the applique. When I do the applique piece, I like to spray the 505 temporary adhesive spray on this fabric before I put it in the hoop. So let's see how this goes. Here is my finished project, and this is the applique that we auto-digitized in IQ Designer or My Design Center. So what I'm going to do now is add some facial detail. So once it's finished, then we can go and add some eyes, nose, a mouth, and maybe some cute little buttons down the front. So I'm going to show you how to do that to finish up this project. In this video segment, I'm going to teach you something new. Sometimes people don't realize that not only can you scan from the scan mat that we have done before, but you can scan what's inside the hoop. And that's going to be really important because we need to add some facial features and some buttons on the body. So we need to know exactly where to put these things that we're going to add. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So join me back at the screen. All right, now we're going to get really creative. So let's go into IQ Designer or My Design Center. And I do have a crosshair on my screen. I'm going to take that off because I really don't like to have anything on my screen. So I'll just have it totally blank. You will see right here that you can see the 5x7 frame, and it is a gray line. This will not stitch out. It's just a reference point for the hoop that you're using if you're using the original manufacturer hoops. So right now I'm going to do something really cool. I'm going to scan. Now I'm not creating a line image or a fill image. All I want to do is scan the background. So I'm going to choose the top icon, which is neither a line nor a color illustration drawing. And I'm going to scan. All right, so here is my picture of what's in my hoop, and this is the teddy bear applique. Now in previous lessons I told you that to make the background disappear you want to press that arrow going to the right, but in this case that's not going to work. So we have to bring up our background, and I like my background right at that mid-range so I can really see it. I'm also going to magnify the size so I can see this a little bit better. I'm going to add some circles for the eyes. So I'm going to go into my shapes and tap my circle, press OK, and I'm going to make my circle as small as I can get it. And hopefully I can get it as small as I need it to be. So let's see how that goes. All right, that's as small as it's going to get, which I think is okay. So I'll put that little eye there, and then I'm going to make a copy of it, and I'll move the other eye right down here. And just want to make sure that they're not crooked. So this is where, again, I'm going to go into my settings and I'm going to tap my grid just so I have some lines to make sure that they are, you know, vertically and horizontally placed. And I think I'm doing pretty good here. Let me just check it out. Yes, it is. All right, so let's add a little nose. So I'll go back into my shapes and I'll add another circle. Now I could have made a copy for a third circle, but I didn't, and that's okay. And I'll resize it, bring it all the way down. Now I think I'm going to want the nose smaller than the eyes, so I'm going to have to get a little creative with this. Press OK. Let's move it over. Whoops, got my bounding box off of that, so let's put the bounding box around again, and then we'll move that right into place. And what I'm going to do is fill that with a color. So I'm going to fill it with black and use my fill tool. All right, so I have a little black nose there, and I want the size smaller, so I'm going to increase my screen. And let me go up to 800%. I'll move this over so I can see that. And I think what I'll do is use my eraser. So when I use my eraser, maybe I'll keep it at the circle and I'll just go around. I'm just erasing some of that circle, and it's not going to be super, but let's see. And then what I'll do is make my eraser a little bit smaller and then really try to make it into a circle that works with the size of the face. And you would have to get, you might want to get, oops, I didn't want to do that much. So you might want to really, like on your own, really work with the eraser tool. And I'm not trying to be super right here with my results, but there we go. All right, so let's see how this looks. I'll go back out. All right, so I have a small little nose, and now I'm going to get a mouth. So again, I'm going to use the circle tool. And how can I do this? Let's see. I think I'll use this shape right here. Press OK, and I'll reduce the size down to something very small. And you'll see how I'm going to make the smile. So let's see, got that down there, and what I'm going to do is press OK, select my eraser, and I'm just going to do a quick edit, taking off most of this right here. And I'm going to use my grid. First of all, I'm going to use my select tool, and I'm going to rotate it to try to put it into the approximate place. And I'll bring this over here. And that's about almost exact center. Now I know the one part of the smile is a little bit higher, so I'll press OK, and I'm going to increase the size right here. Let's see if I go up to 800%. Then I can use my eraser and really fine tune the smile. Okay, looks like my smile is a little bit off. So again, I'll draw the bounding box around it, move it up a little bit. I think I have it. And this is where you can use your select tool to really move things around into position. All right, so let me cancel this out. And I'm going to go back down to 100%. All right, looking pretty good. All I need are some cute little buttons down the front. To do this, I'll magnify his belly a little bit more so I can see it more in detail and I can really see that grid system. And instead of using the shapes, I'm just going to use a paintbrush splotch. So choose the paintbrush under region properties, make sure it is a dark color, and just do a splotch. There we go. And maybe I want to make it a little more round, but if I don't like the curvature of that splotch, I could use my eraser, go in and, oh, my eraser's kind of big there, so I'll do undo, and let me make my eraser a little bit smaller and try to clean this up so it's a really nice circle. Okay, and I'm not going to be trying to do perfection in this demo, but I have as close to a circle as what I want, and I will zoom it back out. I don't have to do any more paint splotches. Remember, I can do a copy and paste, but first I have to choose my select tool, draw a red bounding box around it, then click on the copy and paste, and just move them into position. And another paste. All right. There we go. And maybe if it's not spaced out far enough, again, use your grid system to help you out. And there, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'll draw a bounding box around this one and just move that in. You might have to use your arrow keys to fine tune this. It's a little bit easier using your arrow keys than the stylus on the screen. All right, last but not least, I'm going to zoom out. I do want to add color to his eyes, so I'll use the region properties, and I have the black highlighted. I'm just going to make his eyes black, and there I go. I am done with this. Now let's see how this looks if I press next and preview and okay. All right, so hey, maybe the eyes are a little bit big, but I'm not that concerned with it. You know how to make these eyes a little bit smaller with your eraser. And overall, I kind of like what I'm seeing here. The line for that smile on his face is going to default to a zigzag satin stitch, and everything else looks good. So I'm going to press set, and oh, before I press set, I do want to save it in the pocket, and press set, press OK, and now I am going to stitch this out. Now, just as long as I did not move my fabric in the background, I'm going to be okay. If you are using a multi-needle or a high-end machine that does have the camera, you can press your camera function and it will scan the fabric and the applique that's in the hoop so we can see what we have digitized on our hoop. So let's see where that is. Okay, all is good. And I'm going to stitch this out. And if I really wanted to get more in depth and in detail, I could add little whites to his eyes, but that's something that you can try at home. So here's my finished applique bear. Now I do think his eyes are a little bit too big, and what I didn't realize, and these are things that we just learn as we go along and we remember as we do projects, I did not remove the outline from the eyes. So this was an outline around the eyes, which makes the eyes even bigger. So what I'm going to do right now is add whites to his eyes. So join me back at the screen and we're going to finish this up. So we're back in IQ Designer, and I'm going to select the scan icon, press scan, and then it will scan the teddy bear applique in the hoop. Once we have the teddy bear, now remember, we can control the background by pressing these arrows, but I found that it's easier if we keep it a little bit on the lighter side and magnify the image. I'll go up to 400%, and I'll move in the area of the eyes. I'm going to choose the region properties, and I want to choose a dark color because I did this before with white and it just didn't show up very well on the screen. So I'm going to choose pink because that will show up. It doesn't mean we're going to stitch it out in pink. We could stitch it out in whatever color we want. We can change the color, but right here I'm going to choose my paintbrush and just draw a little splotch there. All right, and then I will make a copy of this. So I'll highlight it and make the copy and move it over here. All right, so right there I can customize the eyes the way I see fit. In retrospect, I would not have done that outline. I would have stitched that as a no stitch, so it would be, it wouldn't stitch out at all. But I'm going to work with what I have, and therefore I have the whites of my eyes. I'll press next and press preview, press OK. All right, and there they are. Now I do think that because I'm going to do the eyes white, that I might have to go in, chain link my eyes, and change the density to 110%. I do think that's important. And also I want undersewing to be on. Undersewing really should be on anytime you do a fill stitch because it gives more support to that area. And it's just really important. The understitching in this case is going to provide a base to provide me with less show through of that black thread on the eyes. So I'll set that, I'll press preview, press OK. All right, I'm ready to go, and I'll press set and then press OK. I'm ready to embroider this if you want, if you have a camera feature. So press your camera and then we can see these eyes on the teddy bear applique. Again, we're not going to stitch it out in pink. You can change the color in your color settings. I'm just going to leave them at pink, but I'm going to tell my machine to stitch them out in white. So after I stitch this out, in the final stitch out, what I decided to do was add a little bit more black at the eyes. And again, this was just done quick on the fly. I wasn't paying too much attention to placement. I added some eyebrows there. And these are just ideas to give you so that you can do this on your own. So I'm not going to tell you how I did the blacks of the eyes. I'm not going to tell you how I did the eyebrows. I'm going to have you figure that out. So I would love to see whatever appliques you do in IQ Designer or My Design Center. Super easy. It will take a couple practice runs. I don't do this all the time, but I like to show people what you can do just with this awesome module. All right, you guys, thanks for watching.